Hi, everyone. I would be the first one to tell you that I'm pretty much a Buddhist newbie. I didn't grow up at a Buddhist church here in Orange County or any other Buddhist temple. In fact, during my time in high school and part of college, I attended a Christian church. I had friends who were within the Christian community, and it seemed like a fun thing to do. It was during this time I found that Christianity really didn't resonate with my beliefs. I stopped going to church until I married my wife and had my 2 kids, who grew up here at Orange County Buddhist Church, and that is how my journey with Buddhism began. Here at Orange County Buddhist Church, I found an embracing community that is accepting of all, and I finally felt at home. One of the most funniest stories early on was my experience here at Orange County Buddhist Church. I was at, a bingo night or a casino night of some sort. It was a fundraiser. I was really shocked to see gambling at a church and having people around me having adult drinks. I was thinking to myself at that time, a church that allows gambling and adult drinks on the premises is not really a bad church to belong to. For this talk, I actually had to cheat and actually look up the definition of what a physician means. I actually went to Wikipedia, who defines a physician as a health professional who practices medicine, which is concerned with promoting, maintaining, or restoring health through the study, diagnosis, prognosis, and treatment of disease, injury, and other physical and mental impairments. Early on in my career, I thought what I was supposed to do was to be like a superhero. Coming out of residency, I really did feel like a superhero. I felt like I was filled with all this knowledge and ready to help anyone who would stop by in need of help. I was terribly wrong, really, really wrong. As I matured, I began to have a different perspective. Now I feel more like this. I learned that often I gain as much from my patients as I am able to help them. Through my patients, I'm often reminded of the teachings of Buddhism. When my son was a baby, for example, I had this wonderful patient who had a rare type of cancer that was really not able to be treated due to where it was located. She had chronic abdominal pain that I really had a difficult time to help her with. She once came to an appointment and to see me and actually brought a blanket that she made for my son. Despite all of her suffering with cancer and abdominal pain, she took that time to think of my son and to make him a blanket. I wondered to myself at that time how she could be so selfless and think of others during a time of illness and great pain. It made me realize that I'm not sure if I actually could be as selfless as she. It reminded me of my own selfishness of wanting to stay young and healthy. This would only cause more suffering to me as my time on this earth becomes shorter, because I really haven't accepted that life is impermanent. I continue to work on this as I notice my eyes are getting worse, my skin is getting more wrinkles, my hair is getting more gray, and my joints ache more and more. I also had a privilege to have a home visit for one of my patients early on in my career who was in hospice care. He was a Disneyland retiree. He started, I think, when he was in high school, and he went and worked throughout his entire life at Disneyland. In fact, he actually lived across the street from Disneyland. Despite the fact that I was his doctor, he didn't really talk about his suffering at the home visit. He and his wife showed me his Disneyland Mickey Mouse watch with the hands that kind of tell time. And he really went over how he got the watch, how fun his retirement party was, all the people who came to thank him for working there at Disneyland. He shared his life and home with me, despite it being his roughest time. It reminded me about having the right view, right thought, right speech, and right conduct. It was a humbling experience, and I'm very grateful for he and his wife to share their lives with me. More recently, I had a patient who was in his 70s. He was admitted early during the COVID pandemic. This was the time before vaccines were readily available. In fact, I believe I got my vaccine just recently, and adults or elderly adults who were at high risk weren't yet able to get their vaccine. He was really pleasant. He would often come to the office. He was a prior gymnast, and so he had the most firmest handshake. And he would first talk to me about his family, and he would ask always how I was and whether I was in good health. During my brief time working in the hospital, taking care of COVID patients, I saw him at the hospital. He was hospitalized there, and he was already in the hospital for about 30 days. He was once a very strong 70-year-old, but at the hospital he was really thin, and he was needing a lot of oxygen. His lungs were scarred from the effects of COVID, and I really knew that he wouldn't be able to leave that hospital. Again, when I paid him a visit, his words were how great it was to see me and how he wanted to make sure that I was doing okay. He really didn't talk about his condition. At that time, we held hands and we really just cried together. That was the time that I was able to say goodbye to him, and I'll always remember that moment. It reminded me to appreciate each moment, whether it be good or bad, to live in the moment and not dwell upon the past or dwell upon the future. It taught me the concept of active presence, the belief that we can only act in the present moment, so we should choose how to act in the present to determine who and what will be. This is a concept that I need to keep working on to this day. For me, Buddhism and medicine share a connection in the pursuit of understanding suffering, its causes, and its cessation. Both disciplines seek to alleviate the burdens of existence and promote well-being. In Buddhism, the Four Noble Truths provide a framework to recognize suffering, understand suffering, and getting rid of suffering through enlightenment. The Four Noble Truths provide a framework for helping me also be a better physician. This is where I'm going to put in a slide about the Four Noble Truths. I'd like to talk a little bit about the Four Noble Truths. The Noble Truth of suffering, or dukkha. In Buddhism, dissatisfaction comes from not living in accord with the truth of impermanence and interdependence. For a physician recognizes that illness, injury, and the aging process are inherent aspects of the human condition and recognize the challenges and limitations of medicine. 2. The noble truth of the cause of suffering, or samudaya. In Buddhism, the delusion of self-importance expressed through greed and anger is the cause of dukkha. For a physician, physicians may encounter patients with unhealthy behaviors such as eating lots of fast foods, drinking too much alcohol, smoking, and drugs, which can result in increased suffering. Physicians can help encourage and guide patients to be better for themselves. 3. The noble truth of the end of suffering. Nirodha. In Buddhism, transformation of greed, anger, and delusion is the cure for dukkha. For a physician, while physicians can't eliminate all suffering, they can help patients manage their pain and find peace. They can provide treatments, support, and guidance to help patients cope with their illness and find meaning in their lives. 4. The noble truth of the path, or marga. In Buddhism, Sakyamuni Buddha taught the Eightfold Path as medicine for putting an end to dukkha. For a physician, physicians can practice mindfulness and compassion in their work. They can treat patients with kindness and respect and strive to understand their experiences. By cultivating a sense of empathy and non-attachment, physicians can better navigate the challenges of their profession and provide compassionate care. Some of the things I learned from my patients I like to share with you, and I call them tidbits of wisdom from my patients. Number 1, don't be lazy. Number 2, those that move their bodies are happier and healthier. I find that people who retire and sit all the time after retirement and watch TV, they just don't live long. They pass on due to ailments. People who retire and find purpose in their life and move their bodies are so much happier and healthier. Aches and pains happen if you rest or move, so move. Those who sit around are heavier and don't live that long. When I was in medical school, I had an attending who actually asked us to look around the community and to see people who are obese. And he said that most people you'll find who are elderly aren't obese because they're already dead. It's those who are thin and active who you'll see in the community. And that's true to this day. You don't see many who are heavy in their 80s and 90s. Those who are pessimistic and negative often do not have good health. On the flip side, those who are optimistic and positive often have better health outcomes. The golden years are not golden. Enjoy the younger years and each present moment. I hear this one the most from my patients. As you get older, you talk more about pee and poop. So you got to make sure to drink plenty of water and always eat your fruits and vegetables. Have purpose in your life. You'll be happier and healthier because of it. Don't just retire. Find something to do. Have a routine. You'll live longer because of it. I'd like to close by thanking my patients for being part of my life and for having them share theirs. I continue to hear the Dharma through my patients. Some are here with the Sangha. I am forever grateful to you. Namo Amitabha Butsu.